Imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a beautiful, serene lake. You are desperately thirsty. You kneel, cup your hands, and drink deeply. The water is cool, immediate relief flooding your senses. But an hour later, a strange sickness begins to bloom in your gut. You return, confused, to the same shore, only to see a small, almost invisible sign half hidden in the reeds. Contaminated. Do not drink. And yet you feel the thirst returning. Your eyes drift back to the deceptive, shimmering water. This is not about water. This is the silent, recurring tragedy of your heart. Why do you return again and again to the same emotional poison, believing this time it will quench you? You diagnose the other person, their unavailability, their chaos, their quiet cruelty, but you refuse to read the sign within yourself. The real unsettling paradox is this: your deepest attractions are not accidents, but precise, subconscious calculations. You are not failing to find the right person. You are succeeding, with terrifying accuracy, at finding the wrong one. Because they are wrong for the you want to be, but perfectly right for the you secretly believe you are. The architecture of your longing was built in rooms you've tried to seal shut. So the haunting question isn't, why do they keep hurting me? It is far more intimate and dangerous. What forgotten blueprint am I still faithfully, tragically following? That blueprint is not written in conscious desire, but in the shadow language of unfinished pain. Carl Jung called it our shadow, the disowned, fragmented parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. You do not simply seek love. You are subconsciously drafted into a mission of self-completion through another. The aloof partner is a puzzle to solve, promising the validation your inner child was denied. The chaotic one is a fire to be quenched, offering the purpose your adult life may lack. You are not choosing a partner. You are choosing a familiar arena in which to restage an ancient, unresolved war. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this. One must have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. But what if you mistake another person's chaos for your own salvation? You become an archaeologist of potential, sifting through someone's wreckage for the glittering artifact of their real self, the one only you can uncover. This is a spiritual trap disguised as a noble quest. Viktor Frankl identified our will to meaning, but this drive becomes twisted when we outsource our meaning to being needed, to fixing, to earning a love that is always just out of reach. The psychological engineer is repetition compulsion, the doomed attempt to rewrite an old story with a new actor, hoping for a different ending while reading from the same cursed script. The ache you feel is not just for them, but for the phantom version of yourself you believe only their love or your suffering for it and resurrect. But what is the true cost of living in this haunting? If this unraveling of your own blueprint resonates, subscribe. Your journey inward is just beginning, and we will go deeper. Leave a comment below with the one word that describes the pattern you're starting to see. This haunting is not passive. It actively constructs a prison of diminishing returns. Each cycle rewires your neurology, deepening the grooves of a toxic reward system. The intermittent reinforcement, the hot and cold, the push and pull, does not feel like abuse. It feels like chemistry. Your dopamine system is hijacked, craving the relief of reconciliation more than the stability of peace. This is the cruel genius of the trap. It convinces you that anxiety is passion, that obsession is love, and that the exhaustion you feel is simply the price of a profound connection. Culturally, we are conditioned to romanticize this struggle. Yet beneath the drama, a silent erosion occurs. Your identity subtly morphs into a satellite orbiting another's inconsistency. Your creativity, your vitality, your philosophical courage, all are quietly siphoned off to fuel the endless analysis of what they meant. Jean-Paul Sartre warned that hell is other people, but he specified it is the cycle of objectification, seeing yourself only as you are seen by another's capricious gaze. You become a stranger to your own desires because your only desire becomes managing their perception of you. The ultimate consequence is a life lived in waiting, a future perpetually on hold, barricaded behind a single, agonizing question. Do they want me? This is how a soul contracts. But what if the path to freedom isn't forward, but a deliberate, terrifying step backward, into an emptiness you have spent a lifetime trying to fill? The rebellion begins with a radical and counterintuitive ceasefire. You must stop seeking the right person and start courageously confronting the wrong person you have been to yourself. This is the philosophical pivot. It requires you to withdraw the sacred projection of your salvation from another and bear the terrifying weight of your own wholeness. Draw inspiration from the Stoics, from Marcus Aurelius, who insisted that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your first act of defiance is to cease the internal narrative that you are incomplete without a specific other's love. This is not about blame, but about reclaiming agency. You must dissect the blueprint with compassionate ruthlessness. What familiar emotional climate did those wrong people replicate? Was it the quiet neglect, the walking on eggshells, the need to earn affection? Your mission shifts from repairing others to rehabilitating your own thresholds for love. You must actively court boredom, the quiet space where no dramatic plot is unfolding, and learn to interpret its peace not as emptiness, but as fertile ground. Here, you rebuild your identity not as a seeker, but as a sovereign. You choose people not for the chaotic promise of what they could be, but for the quiet truth of what they are. But this sovereign stance leads to one final, piercing revelation. The ultimate truth is this: you never actually chose the wrong people. You chose the perfect, unwitting mirrors for the unresolved pain you still carried. They showed you, with brutal clarity, where you did not yet love yourself. The final rebellion is to thank them for this devastating service and to finally turn towards the reflection. The paradigm shift is realizing that love is not a scarce resource to be extracted from another, but a state of being you generate within. When you cultivate that internal abundance, your very vibration changes. You no longer attract predators seeking wounded prey, but fellow sovereigns recognizing a familiar light. This is the poetic, cinematic end of the old cycle. You realize you were not thirsty for them, but for the version of you that emerges when you stop drinking from poisoned wells. The haunting question transforms. It is no longer, "Why do I choose this?" but "What majesty is waiting to be built in this newfound silence?" Your past struggles suddenly make sense. They were not failures, but the necessary friction to sand down your edges, to reveal the core that no wrong person can ever touch again. You are left not haunted by the past, but radically awake in a present where your worth is a premise, not a plea. The search is over. The building begins. If this final truth landed not just in your mind, but in your bones, subscribe to build upon this foundation. Let this new understanding resonate. Leave a comment with the first thing you will build in your newfound silence.